Lynn, to the Sing Space community. You're already a part of the community, and you have presented on the Vocal Gym before. So, you know, our members know you, and your name is so respected in the vocal community as a whole. You know, you've done so many great things. And you know, we were chatting the other day, Lynn and I was just mentioning about how many roles you've taken on in my life. You've been my boss, because Lynn hired me at Academy of Contemporary Music, and you've been my mentor. You've been my singing teacher, you know, my singing teacher trainer as well. You have been my friend. You have been my colleague. I've written articles for you on I Sing Mag. I mean, we could probably go on and on. I think I've babysat for Dexter, maybe a dog a long time ago, sweet dog. Yeah, so, but you are a wealth of knowledge. And, you know, with this vocal and wellness course that we're doing, you actually kind of go across both of those, you know. Didn't really know where to put you, but I think people really respect you as a trainer, a teacher, and just knowing about vocal health. And so I didn't actually have a vocal health topic on this course, and I really thought that you could help us out here. And I wanted to bring up a lot of you know, questions from our participants, and anything. I know that you could answer questions really on any topic. And I recently got in touch with Lynn because I wanted her to advise on a situation that I had with a long-term artist that I was working with, Barnes Courtney, and she really, really helped me advise on this situation. So yeah.
Team effort, that one. Yes.
Yeah, it was nice to have you, to be honest. It was something that was a little bit out of my depth, and I wanted to call on Lynn, especially. I was really, you know, just taken aback by how you could help me with this situation. So thank you, Lynn. I've got some questions here, and I thought that so we could just go straight in, and you could help us with some of these. So Lynn, so I've got the first question here. As a bass in a Sing Space choir, singing baritone, how can you best protect and strengthen both your higher and lower registers and avoid the creation of the imbalance between your natural placement and falsetto?
So let me just, I do want to say something before I kick off into answering any questions. And that is, I am not clinically registered as a health practitioner. Obviously I'm an ex-nurse, and I got a master's in performing arts medicine. So anything I say is just purely advice, general advice, and you need to talk to your doctor, you know, and not change anything based on any, you know, medical or health things that I might talk about. Yeah, just so I think that's very important to clarify that. And I always do the best to give you the information that I have to hand. But I think we all need to take responsibility for our own health and well-being. So,
of course.
So this is kind of probably more of a technical question rather than a health, but obviously it seems like the person feels like it might have an issue. They might have an issue vocally if they don't find that balance. So I think my first question would be, do you have a teacher who can help guide you to be balancing your voice and making sure that you are making that transition and not straining as you sing into the upper part of the range? I think it's very easy to go into falsetto, and I don't have a problem with that. And I think we also need to figure out, what are we defining as falsetto here? Because in some schools of thought it means head voice, so the vocal folds are working, so closing fully, and the TA and the CT are engaged and everything's kind of balanced, but we're in this upper part of our range and the vocal folds are stretched. Or are we in the whistle tone where the vocal fold, the TA is not engaged and it's just the ligament and the upper epithelial layer of the vocal folds that are vibrating? So that's that's something which I'd want to identify first.
Lynn, can you comment also, because a lot of these questions might be from Sing Space choir members. So we've got a wide group here. We've got Sing Space choir members very much. They might not understand the terms that you're mentioning.
Okay.
So I think I hear you. Could you also describe what you're speaking about from that point of view when you talk about, like say the differences between a falsetto? And I think if I read the question again, he's saying as a bass in Sing Space choir, in brackets, singing baritone.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing there is maybe this person feels out of, I am a bass, but I've got to sing, things that feel really high to me, and I feel myself flipping back and forth. Right.
Yeah. So the thing is that going into falsetto, if you're going into head voice, that's maybe not such a problem. But if you're talking about falsetto where the vocal folds are disconnected, then you're not going to get the tone that you want. It's going to be light. It might be even very breathy. Yeah. So, and can be tiring on the vocal folds because there's lots of air coming through and maybe there's an imbalance. So I think ideally you'd be making sure you have some guidance to understand your voice and what does it mean to transition into this other area of your voice. What kind of exercises do you need in order to help build that area of that transition and working in the upper end? And also, what kind of warm-ups are you doing in preparation for singing? Or are you just going in cold, straight from work into choir and now we're singing?
Exactly. Yeah, the voice needs to be stretched. And so maybe are you feeling like, oh, all of a sudden, your voice is out of balance? Yeah. Okay, that sounds good. So what I'm hearing you say about this question is this person maybe needs to discover more and understand that, there are some options here. And learn about your voice and how you can potentially connect it through so you can feel more in balance. But some more work required.
And look, if you're finding at the end of your rehearsals, excuse me, you're losing your voice or your voice is getting really husky or painful, then don't keep going. It's not a case of, if you push on through, eventually it'll work. Eventually it probably will break. So we need to make sure we're addressing these signs and symptoms. It's our body and our voice telling us something needs to be dealt with here, and it might be having a couple of lessons, or it might be, as I said, finding out what kind of warm-up exercises will get the voice ready.
Good singing. It's amazing. Sometimes you feel your voice balanced. It's so, wow, I just didn't feel anything. I think we're so used to going, oh, I feel it in my throat, or I feel my voice flip-flopping back and forth. And when your system is in alignment, you really can feel almost like nothing. So you're just left to express the words. That would be the ideal situation, wouldn't it? So if you're not feeling that, then maybe need to look into it more with some private coaching maybe. Okay, I'm going to move on so we can get these great questions in. We've got 7 in total questions. So I think that's perfect. Okay, can overuse and singing falsetto, here's another falsetto question, more often, can it cause damage to your lower voice?
In theory, no. If you're working in a balanced way and you're balancing your voice in between singing. I have heard people say that singing in falsetto, a lot like whistle tone, and I'm thinking about Mariah Carey here, can be quite taxing on the vocal folds because your vocal folds are vibrating at a very high speed. There's quite a lot of air coming through, and quite often it's at high pitches as well. So obviously it means that the vocal folds are coming together a lot more within a second. So if we think about middle A, the vocal folds come together 440 times a second. So when you get to the next A up, now that's 880. And then, you know, if you're going above that high C that sopranos might sing, you're in the thousand of times a second. And, you know, if you imagine doing that to your fingers, you can imagine that's going to be fatiguing. The vocal folds are quite amazing that they can withstand that. So falsetto, if it's the falsetto that we were talking about where you're disengaging the muscle of the vocal folds and the ligament and the upper layer of the vocal folds are only doing the work, then singing like that all the time could be fatiguing. I think, like with many things with the voice, if it's problematic, then you need to address it. If you're managing without any problems, you're not again losing control of your voice, you're not losing your voice, you're not getting any pain, you're not getting changes in tone of voice, then it's probably working all right. And it's about balance as well. I mean, do you really want to be singing falsetto all the time? It's a little bit samey after a time. You know, it's fine as a way of adding color into a song, but maybe also consider, is that really the kind of tone you always want to have when you're singing?
Yeah, I like that, you know, and I feel a healthy voice, you know, if I'm looking at a voice for the first time, I'm sort of looking for, okay, what happens when this person is in this part of their register? And then what happens when they're in this part? You know, I'm looking for gear changes and shifts, and that's just a natural, even on a piano, you know, we'll hear the piano bass keys will sound different from the, you know, the treble keys, and you know that's just a natural part of sound. We want to hear that fluctuation and change.
I love that analogy of driving, actually, because yeah, if you had a car and it was in fourth gear all the time or first gear all the time, you'd end up wrecking the engine.
Yeah. With that kind of tin sometimes. Okay, all right, question 3. Oh, this is a good one for you, Lynn. How do you know when you shouldn't sing due to illness? What's the line you shouldn't cross?
The one that lots of singers cross all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is not giving your voice enough rest. Yeah. So quite often, and especially professional singers, and actually even non-professional singers, but for slightly different reasons. So professional singers will keep going because this is their job, it's their reputation. Non-professional singers will keep going because they don't really understand how it's going to impact their voice, and not just singing voice, but also their speaking voice if they keep going and cause damage. So if you've got pain or discomfort, especially during or after singing, even before, then that's a line I wouldn't cross. When we're in pain, it's the body giving us a message: rest, maybe need some sort of treatment, you know, whatever it is. If you have lost your voice, like it's very husky, you lost volume, you lost control, the pitch is out of control, even when you're talking, it's flipping or cracking when you're talking, you shouldn't be singing, because this means that you've got vocal fold swelling, some sort of issue going on in that area. And to sing when your vocal folds are in that condition, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's like if you've broken your finger and you decide I'm still going to use it all the time. You know, it doesn't make any sense. You've got to rest it, it's got to heal, and then you've got to get it back to functioning properly. You know, it's just, you got to be sensible about these things.
I know there seems to be some people don't really pay attention to the voice in that way. They just expect it to be working for them all the time
because you can't see it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say to people, actually take some time to go and visualize what your vocal folds look like when they're healthy, what they might look like when they're not healthy.
Yeah.
And when they look swollen and red and sore, do you really think that that's a good time to be out there using your voice a lot? Would you do that with the rest of your body? You know, if any other part of your body was in that kind of condition, would you force it to be used? I mean, maybe you might, but you will, you know, logically that you will probably suffer the consequences. So those are probably 2 quite strong lines I wouldn't cross.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Great answer. Okay. Is it true that anyone can learn to sing?
Yeah. My short answer is yes. My long answer is depends a lot on motivation, because there are definitely some people for whom pitching is more challenging, either because they've never learnt how to pitch against another sound, whether it's an instrument or another voice, or they've not had music around them as they've grown up. I've worked with a few students like that. So to go and do the work that you need to do in order to get better at that, training your ear, training your voice, is quite challenging for the average. So you have to really, really want it.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happens mostly is that people have a go at it. Maybe they don't have a very good singing teacher. And then they walk away thinking, well, it's not for me. But my belief is, and especially because I work a lot around mindset, is that actually if it's something you really want and you've decided that you're prepared to put in the time and the work and the effort, then yes. Will you become the next Mariah Carey or Pavarotti? Probably not. Could you go out and enjoy singing and join a community of other singers and get the pleasure and also the health benefit from being involved in music and singing and being creative? Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Good answer, Lynn. Okay, so we've got a few questions left. What are the various ways to cool down and SOVT exercises to use and help reset during days of heavy vocal activity? Yeah, this sounds like someone who knows,
Yes.
that
Yeah.
knows a little bit more.
I'd love to say there's a sort of an umbrella answer for this, but there isn't. It depends very much on you and your voice, and also what you've been doing with your voice. So if you've been singing, say, very belty, full-on material all day, then you want to make sure that you're addressing and getting your everything back into balance. So that might be descending type exercises. Lip trills are really great for that. Anywhere which gets the larynx, reminds the larynx to go back into that more neutral position and gets the vocal folds oscillating sort of in a more balanced way. And straw therapy is very good for that as well, whether that's into water, whether that's with a large ball or small ball. You have to experiment a little bit to find out what works for you. So descending scales can often work really nicely here. Another one I like is just getting the vocal folds to come together in a nice, firm but not too pressed way. So, ha, and then going into a sound, ha, ah, ha, ah, ha, ah. And quite often, if you've been pushing your voice all day or straining your voice, you'll find that you'll get a ha, because your larynx is a little too high.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to really think about bringing that down and taking a much more dopier down
I love
low larynx approach.
I love that tip on it, because I can just picture, and that would be, having a different effect. And any SOVT, and for anyone who doesn't know, it's that semi-occluded vocal tract. But what Lynn's talking about, we're closing, offering a barrier there, and which feeds back to, and it creates more length on your vocal tract. So any of those SOVT is sort of helping the larynx settle down, because it's giving that pressure back. Okay, great. And okay, let's keep going. Does the voice change as we get older? And can we lose our higher register? If so, what can we do to prevent this? Wow, that's a big question.
Yeah. So the first answer is yes. Most people will find that their voice will change as they get older. For females, it will be because as we go through menopause, the hormones that become depleted will also have an impact on reducing the lamina propria, or the inside of the vocal folds, and also the muscles. So quite often women talk about feeling weaker because their muscle tone goes, and going through menopause means that you're depleted in estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. And testosterone in particular is tied in with muscle strength. So when we're depleted, it means everywhere will be depleted, and that includes our voice. And of course, as we get older, there's a higher chance of some sort of medical condition, whether it's Parkinson's or, you know, many other things there that can impact us. And so that might have an impact on our voice as well. So for women, they might find that their voice gets a little thicker and less control, maybe weaker at the top. So they might not have the top end that they used to. With males, they will also get a depletion of testosterone and other hormones, and their vocal folds will thin out a little bit, and so sometimes their voice will get higher and weaker. But if we do regular voice exercises, we're going to minimize the impact that, you know, the atrophy will voice. Yeah, so there's been a lot of studies on Parkinson's and singing, and that you can delay the onset of the voice weakness that comes with Parkinson's through singing.
Wow, that's fascinating. And do you think supplements in that take a role in that too? The right kind of supplements?
Or replacement hormones, yeah. I think so. I can't tell you with absolute certainty because there's not been enough studies on it. The voice doesn't get studied as much as other parts of the body, like the heart or the brain. So yeah, we don't have a lot of research on that, and in fact there's not really enough research on menopause in the first place, so
yeah, right.
Getting it on menopause and the voice is a little harder, though obviously Joanne Bozeman is quite an expert on that, so you might find her book has some useful ideas in there. She will be much more closely linked to anything sciencey than I am, because I haven't really delved into it.
The title of that book is just not springing to my mind.
No, but it'll be something to do with menopause.
Okay,
yeah. We can put it in the
we'll put it in the
comments.
Chat. Yeah. Okay, so last question. What is the best way to keep your voice working at its best during a long concert?
I'm so, do you want to speculate what that means?
What is the best way to keep your voice working at its best during a long concert? So kind of eking out what we could get out of that question. I think for me that this person is talking about the durability of going a long concert.
Endurance. Well, that preparation comes beforehand. And the problem is it's such a how long is a piece of string question, because it depends on the genre. It depends on the environment. Are you using a microphone or not? It depends on what kind of vocal development you do. You know, do you warm up? Do you practice? You know, is it new material? Is it material you're familiar with? Are you playing? Are you singing against, you know, a rock band? Or are you singing in a choir situation? You know, there's many things that you could do. Are you in control of the repertoire? You know, because if you are, then you can change around the set list, but if you're not, then you don't have a choice. I think a big part of this is preparation.
Yes.
Vocal, mental and physical.
Yes, absolutely. The same that you would run a long race. You wouldn't just turn up and run. Yeah. You know, there's a lot.
And rehearsal, yeah, if you can. So giving yourself, you know, dress rehearsals are there for a reason. It gives the body, the mind and the performer an opportunity to run it as a performance without the pressure of being in front of the audience. You know, if you've, say for instance, you know, it's a long concert and you've got to wear an outfit that you've never worn before, have you practiced wearing that out and in that outfit?
Oh my goodness, yes. One of my students just last week did a performance in a corset.
Right.
And when I all of a sudden I got up there and I couldn't breathe. And I thought, oh, okay, yes, rehearse in the outfit.
Yeah, even shoes can make a huge difference to your sense of balance and your voice.
Right. Well, then your answers to the questions really reflect your depth of knowledge, because on so many, you know, different areas, because you have such detailed awareness of what might be needed before, during, after, but also, you know, the big picture as well. So it's really amazing that we can just hear your answers. It's inspiring, really inspiring.
That's survival, that is, Becky, you know, having to work with all these different artists and people from different, and you know, them asking those questions, and also, you know, it's a lot my curiosity as well. It's like, how do those, because my background is as a jazz vocalist. I was very in control of my repertoire in terms of what I sang and what range I sang in, and, you know, I didn't have to go on tour and all these kind of things. So I felt like I needed to know and understand a lot more, and so I found out.
Right. And so the Sing Space community, you know, we have so many different types of singers here. We've got ex-West End singers, we've got choir members, we've got singing teachers in the group, you know, and so you run BAST, you know, be a singing teacher. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so BAST training helps singers become singing teachers and good singing teachers. We have a foundational course, which is something that you can do online and stems from a 20-hour course that we used to deliver. And it's now 20 hours plus, and it's self-paced, so you can dip in and out when you want to. It's all online, and you can do it with or without a mentor. So there's lots of different levels there. And then somehow in my wisdom, and I say that with with quotation marks, I decided, oh yes, let's make this a qualification. So it's not necessarily a singing teacher qualification, but it's a qualification that's related to teaching through RSL. So it's a level 5 vocational qualification, and that is for people who want to go much more in depth. So we help singers either, you know, to transition into singing teaching, whether it's part-time or full-time, you know, because people take it up for all sorts of reasons. And we help fill in gaps as well, you know, for people who feel like they've got some understanding of bits and bobs but want to have a better understanding in general. And yes, we're running a 5-day challenge in the next few weeks. I've had to change the date, so if anyone's interested in the 5-day challenge, where I'll help you identify what you bring to the table if you're not sure, what kind of students you might want to focus on, and how to go about deciding what your fees are, and then how might you start going about finding students. So the 5-day challenge has activities each day that will help you with those things.
It sounds like if anybody's interested in getting that pathway to start to become a singing teacher, this is a great first step.
Absolutely.
And actually with the accountability to just cover all these little things that just probably seem so daunting.
Yes,
you know?
and quite often people don't have very much confidence when they come into it. They want to do it, but they don't feel confident that they have enough, or that they can charge, or that anybody would have to have would want to have a singing lesson with them. And so this 5-day challenge is to help you understand that you do have something to offer someone, and that actually you can set a price that's comfortable for you and that people will pay, as well as figure out how to access those kind of people that will be really ideal students for you.
That sounds great, Lynn. That sounds really good. So I'll put the link to that challenge down in the chat of this, and also in the vocal and wellness course.
Yeah,
I'll be putting that so they sign up.
We may not have it available just yet, but once it is, I'll send it to you. Yeah, or if people want to, they can join the mailing list. Just go to basttraining.com, training, and join the mailing list, and we'll be
notifying when that is coming up. That sounds great. Fantastic. Just got a comment from Trevor. This has been very helpful, understanding my voice, especially how I need to look after it both before and after I sing. Yes.
High five on that one.
High five, Trev. Your voice is a part of you, you know, and you're just like you would warm up before a run, you know, and a workout. Right. Well, thank you so much for Lynn for joining us.
Thanks for asking me.
Really nice. Yeah, it's nice for us to get this, and
you know, I'm in the group, so if anyone's got any questions watching on the replay, I will pop in and answer those.
Tag Lynn in the comment, and we can get more good expertise from Lynn. Okay, well, thanks everyone, and we will see you again soon. Tune in next week. I've got facial yoga, Lynn. You might want to tune in.
I might
Lunchtime
do.
live.
Yes.
I'm definitely going to be doing it, and that should be really interesting. Okay, everyone, take care. Thanks again, Lynn Hilton. Bye bye.